Are you having trouble keeping your client loyalty up? The truth is, this is more common than you think it is, and it is pretty easy to fix. I'm going to give you 5 different things that you can do that will cause your client's loyalty to increase very quickly. Hey, Todd Barton here with the Barton Real Estate Group. Today, Wally and I wanted to take a few minutes and talk about how to keep yourself in contact with your clients. Some people call it ghosted, and how not to become ghosted. And in the sales industry as a whole, this really can be a problem.
It happens quite often, more than you might think.
So somebody calls us up and says, hey, I'm thinking about buying or selling a home. And then we reach back out and say,
or you get some leads out in the field somewhere, and you've talked to them and they tell you what they're looking for, this and that, and you put their information in the CRM, and then you go to try to reach out and crickets.
Nothing, crickets, ghosted. So we want to talk about, just real quick, 5 things, just 5 different things that you can do to help improve from being ghosted. And I think the first one is probably the best tip that we have. There's no question in my mind that this is what most people aren't doing that will definitely improve the situation. And that is, send everybody that you can an intro video.
Which I think we've just learned how this really works, because we've only been doing videos now for about 2 months. And we've gotten some calls from videos.
Well,
and
the good news, we've gotten calls, and when they call, they know who they're talking to.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. There's a comfort factor built in.
Yeah, like they know who it is, and so they for whatever reason, those walls come down a little bit faster.
So I think that not only is a comfort factor, but it also makes them feel more confident to work with us.
Sure. Yeah, so sending out a video, get that record. Look, you can record the video on your phone. You can record it on a really nice movie camera if you need to, right? I mean, but the reality is have something that's available to you on your phone, so that you can text it over, you can email it. Anyway, I think it's a huge tip that not enough people are doing.
100% agree, because I don't think people are real estate agents. Everybody's starting to jump into the video podcast game, so it's going to become more and more.
It's going to be necessary, right? And I don't think this just applies to real estate. I mean, I think this applies to any sales job. If you've got a sales job and you're selling something, I think that all 5 of these tips are actually would help any salesperson.
Agreed.
Real estate. We happen to be in real estate, and so we experience this at times. But so that's number 1. Send an intro video to anybody who you've never met face to face, and they don't know who you are or even what you look like. Right. All right. Number 2, and this is going to sound really simple, but call your clients.
As opposed to texting.
There you go. As opposed to texting, right? It's call them. I'm not saying don't text.
But in the beginning,
don't hit them up on their social media.
You have to build some rapport, and you can't do that through text.
Yeah, it's harder for sure.
The context of text.
The context of text.
Sometimes doesn't come across to the other side.
Yeah, for sure. We don't, how we communicate and someone else receives that communication, it's hard to tell. I think the other thing that we deal with now is social media, right? I mean, there's so much that happens and that you talk to people through social media, and it's just like texting. It's kind of the same. So make phone calls. Actually talk to them on the phone, so that they know what your voice sounds like. If you're able to get them that video call, that will help as well. And I'll tell you, make calls that are scheduled and not scheduled. Like, so many people are so worried about, I only can call at this time of this day when I scheduled it with them. Look, if you have some pertinent information they need to know, something that's going to help them make a better decision about whatever they're buying, whether it's real estate or something else, you should reach out. Like, you should make that phone call. And a lot of times, I'll tell you, if you make that phone call and you're only able to leave a voicemail, that works too.
Absolutely.
That just shows that you're going that extra mile, right? So call your clients. I know that sounds so simple, but texting sometimes doesn't work.
But it does sound simple, but for a lot of people, it is not simple to reach out and call somebody you don't really know and try to have a conversation. That's part of the game too, is getting comfortable with that.
Yeah, the phone. I mean, when you're calling somebody you don't know, the phone weighs 1,000 pounds, right? It's so hard to pick up. It's so hard to push those buttons, right? So yeah, call your clients. Number 3, I think this is something that we all should get better at, not only in sales, but as humans, and that's asking better questions.
It's funny because I know you're going to say the why, in quotation marks, when you call and you're talking to them, find out why. But my background prior to real estate was I worked in the television field, journalism, and journalists follow the rule of the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and why when they do interviews.
Okay. So I could be a journalist, you're saying?
You could be a really good journalist with the amount of questions you ask.
Yeah, so I mean, after being in real estate for so long, I mean, I've just learned that anytime someone says they want to move, my very first question is why? Like, why do you want to move? Because
it's a giant pain.
Yeah, it's not easy. There's a lot of stress and it takes a lot of time. And so, someone really has to have a big why behind why they want to move. And so ask questions. I would tell anybody that's in sales that you should have what we call on our team is the standard set of questions. Like, it's the same questions for every buyer and every seller. And it's on a piece of paper. And when somebody calls and says they want to buy or they want to sell, you grab that standard set of questions, you ask those questions, and you write down the answers. Because then, by the way, both parties, both you as the real estate agent and the client on the other end, have a better idea of what your goals are. Because
absolutely, the more information you have, the better you can deliver what they want, and sooner.
Yeah, and I think when you ask enough questions, they'll realize what they want.
Well, that too.
A lot of times I in real estate, I know we see this a lot. A buyer will call up and say, I want this, this, and this. And then at the end, when they actually buy the house that they buy, we ask them for their top 5. And I'm not buying a house unless I have all 5 of these things, whatever that is: a big backyard, a big kitchen, whatever that looks like, right? When we get down to it, there's maybe one of those 5 things that the house actually has. Because, a lot of times you just don't know until you start actually getting into it and asking the questions. All right, so ask great questions. Get yourself a sheet of paper, write down that standard set of questions, have it printed out so that you can refer to it at any given time of the day while you're working. I think that's important. All right, the next one, again, another one I think that's very important that we just have a tendency not to do, and that is you got to communicate with all of the decision makers at the same time.
And that's easy to overlook.
Yeah.
But it's a really important thing to find out. Because
who are they, first of all? Like, I'm friends with the wife, right? But there's a husband or a significant other, I guess, that's part of the decision making. And a lot of times we'll find that we don't start communicating with that person until we're halfway through. And that's probably not the right way to do it, right? So find out who the decision makers are and make sure that you're communicating with all of them at the same time. I don't know how many times I've sent, say a text to the group and I get 2 different responses.
Right.
And all that does is cause the other side to go, oh wait, we need to talk about this before we can actually decide what to do about that. So communicate with all decision makers all of the time. I think that's important. And I think last on our list, such a hard one.
Well, you're talking about discuss how and when we get paid. And I don't think a lot of people realize that we don't get paid till the very end.
Yeah, so we do a lot of work. And by the way, if you're in sales anyway, you typically don't get a paycheck until something sells.
We are not on
right?
payroll.
Yeah, no, we're not on payroll. We get paid when it sells. And you should talk to your clients about that. Like, one that I toyed putting on the list is talk about the elephant in the room, right? Well, I will tell you that a lot of times, most of the time, I think people get ghosted because the other side isn't clear on how and when someone's going to get paid. And they haven't paid any money for our services, and they don't want to waste our time, and they have all these reasons or excuses on why they quit communicating. And I will tell you that the majority of the time, I think it's because they don't know how it works. They don't know how you're going to get paid.
It could be, and they're worried that it's going to be on them.
They could be worried about how much it's going to be, and they don't know how much it's going to be. They don't know if it's going to come out of their pocket when you write offers, or does it come out at the end? And so just talk about it. Like on our team, we do buyer consults, right? I'm really big on making sure we meet with all of our clients.
Absolutely.
Sit down, have a consultation. By the way, it's where we ask great questions.
Right.
We have our list.
And right.
So half of these things are part of our buyer consultation. We make sure that all the decision makers are there so that we can,
Right.
everybody can get an understanding of what's going on. And we tell them how we get paid.
That way, once we start, we're all on the same page and we're working as a team and we're moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's critical. So maybe there's 6 things on this list. And I'll give one last piece of advice, I think, that for those that have stayed to the end of the video. Here's what I think is, if you're in sales and you're a salesperson, there comes a time when you have to move on, right? If you've been calling somebody and they just won't communicate back with you, if you've been texting and they won't text back, you've been emailing and they won't email back, you've knocked on the door, they won't answer the door. Look, at some point you just have to move on, because if you fill your pipeline with a bunch of people that don't want to communicate with you, you're essentially going to go out of business.
I got one of these clients right now.
Do you? Well, maybe it's time to move on, right? I mean, after a while, even if we've had that initial conversation, after a while, we just, as salespeople, we just have to move on and find people that want to talk to us, that want to communicate with us, and that really have a need to what they're doing.
Only if you want to make money semi-consistently.
Yeah, I think that's important. And then don't ever give up on a client, though. Like, you need to have a system that you put them in. Even though you've moved on, there should be some kind of system that you put them in that you can consistently stay in touch with them over time. Because in real estate, and this isn't like all sales, because some sales are a little more reactive, but in real estate, what we know is that when someone starts looking for a home or thinking about selling their home, they have to find a home to go to, and they could be 7 to 9 months as the average time between the time they start looking until the time they actually move into a property or buy a property. So don't give up on them, but move on. Find somebody else to try to get a hold of. Agreed?
100%.
All right, so the 5 on the list again: send them a video right up front. Make calls to your clients. Don't just text, don't just email, don't just do it through social media. Actual phone calls, ask great questions, communicate with all decision makers, and last but not least, tell them how you're going to get paid so they know. And I think all of these things will help keep people in touch with each other long enough to make things happen. Hey, so there you have it. 5 ways to not be ghosted by your client. And check out some of our other videos here if you want to stay informed about real estate in Las Vegas.